What's up, Michael Jordan collectors and investors? I hope you guys are having a great day. So this community is growing. We're over 250 subscribers and it's still going. So I got my coffee here. So we got a lot to talk about. The PSA 10. So what's going on with the PSA 10 Michael Jordan rookie card? So this card has been on one hell of a ride for the last 3 months. So we're going to dig into that. I've got a couple of reasons why I think that this card has been on such a ride in the entire Michael Jordan rookie card market. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is it's basically boils down to just supply and demand. Aside from the economy, aside from what's going on in the card market, the hobby market, aside from just about everything else, it all comes down to just simple supply and demand. So this card sold for $700,000 on the 30th of January. That was a huge run up. And when that card sold for $700,000, so it was a pair. There was two of them that sold on Golden Auctions that night. So that created a lot of hype, but not with the average collectors. This created a lot of hype with the guys that could afford this card. So if you think about in your hobby career, in your experience, what's the most that you've ever spent on a card? What's the most? I could tell you right now, the most that I spent was $26,000 on one card on a LeBron RPA back in the day. So at the time, that was 1/4 of my annual income. So you got to think about these guys that are spending $500,000 or $700,000 on a Michael Jordan rookie card. That is at least 1/4 of their annual income. So they make at least over $2 million a year at a minimum, the people that are purchasing these Michael Jordan PSA 10s. So just think about in your hobby career, think about the most expensive card and think about what your annual income is at the time. So each time that this card sells, that's one less guy that can afford the card that's taken out of the market from buying the card. So that's less people that are bidding on the PSA 10 for the next time. So you got these guys. So in America, on an average, there's about 18 million millionaires in America right now. So you got to think of those 18 million, how many of these guys care at all about sports cards? How many of these guys are at the age where the Michael Jordan rookie card was a nostalgic card to them? So you got to think. So the card sold for $700,000, and that was a pair. And Ken Golden came on Instagram that night and said, yeah, after I sold those two, I sold two more for the same price privately. So that's four. So that's four on one night for $700,000. And over the 3-month period, you had 13 sales that were public, and you add those two, and there's 15 sales of this Michael Jordan card. So that's 15 transactions from 15 millionaires. So that's 15 less millionaires that are in the market for this card. So you just got to think about that. So it's just like us, as average collectors, we see an expensive card that we want, and we're looking at it, we're watching it. But if we keep seeing it listed over and over, well, then the urgency is kind of flattened out for us. So just think about this for a minute. Think about over the last, since you've been collecting, if a $700,000 card sold, that was huge news. So if a $700,000 card sold, you would not see the very next auction two more listed of that card. And then another week later, another one listed. And then 4 available on eBay at the same time of a $700,000 card. As soon as one of these cards sell, we barely have enough time to celebrate it before there's 2 more listed. So then it's there's 2 more listed. So then you got these guys that can afford the card. These millionaires are like, wow, there's 2 more listed. Okay, well, I was trying to bid on this card at $700,000 and I didn't get it. There's 2 more listed. So maybe I go after this one. And there's four. And there's another one at this is Mile High. There's another one at Leland. There's another one at Heritage. There's one at Robert Edwards Auctions. There's 2 or 3 on Golden Auctions. It's like, to Millionaire, he's just like, okay, there's so many available. Like, I really don't have to get this right now. So I have time to get my ducks in a row. Just like us, when we want to purchase a major car that's like a fourth of our annual income, if we keep seeing it pop up, if we see 10 available, we can be like, oh, okay. Well, let me just save up enough money where I'm not broke when I buy this card, and I can buy this and still be stable. Of course, a lot of these guys aren't going to be broke. Like Justin Timberlake bought one for $600,000, so he's not going to be broke. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some guys that just make about $2 to $3 million a year that are purchasing the Michael Jordan rookie card for $500,000, and $500,000 to someone that makes $2 or $3 million a year is still a gigantic purchase, a major investment for them. So they still want to get their ducks in a row. They want to get everything in a row. They don't just want to buy just a huge chunk and have a huge chunk of their net income just gone to this card and then not be stable. You know what I'm saying? So you got that going on. So each time this sells, so 15 sells, that's less people that really wanted the card, that have the card, that don't care about the other auctions. Another thing that you got going on is how many of these people that can afford it, how many of these celebrities, hip hop artists, athletes, how many of these guys actually are going after the Michael Jordan? Like some of these guys, they're young, so their GOAT is actually LeBron. So they're going to go after a LeBron before they go after a Jordan, or they're going to go after a Kobe. Maybe they're a little bit older, so Kobe is their GOAT. Even the older guys, a lot of these like hip hop artists, they're in LA. Guys like Snoop, who is older, who it was in the Michael Jordan era. He stated publicly that Kobe is his actual GOAT. So you got that going on. You got a percentage of the new $1 million collectors that aren't necessarily going after the Michael Jordan. They're going after LeBron. They're going after Kobe. So you got that going on. So you got to wonder what percentage of these actual 18 million Americans that are millionaires are buying these Michael Jordans. And every time they sell, how many are out of the market for the card? So you got to think about that. But that's one factor. Another factor that I believe is, so every time the Michael Jordan PSA 10 sells, every time it sells, so it sold 4 times on one night, 700,000. And then the next time that it's sold, so let's look at this graph here. So the next time that it sold right here for 645,000. So you look at every time it sells, here's 612,000. Here's another sell. Each time that it sells, it has dropped off. So why is that? Well, it's because of supply. So the people that can afford this, they buy it, and then a couple more is listed. So those guys, there's less guys fighting over this card, and then the next one sells, and it just keeps going down because there's less and less people fighting for this card, bidding on this card. So now think about that. So look at the entire Michael Jordan card market. So you got from the top, you got the PSA 10s that are now shrinking in value. It's pushing down the ceiling of the market of the Michael Jordan rookie cards. Then you got the mid-range cards, which are like the foundation, which are the 8s and the 7s, which are the highest pop cards, with the 8s having a pop of over 7,000, almost 8,000. And then you have the 7s that have a very high pop as well. So those are the stabilizers. So that's the foundation. Once those crumble, then everything else falls. Because if you look underneath from the 6s to the 1s, those significantly went up in value and they stabilized. And if you go above the 8s, you're looking at the 9s, you're looking at the high-end looking PSA 9s, the perfect ones, and you got the BGS 9.5s, the high and the low ends. Those cards had gained value and had stabilized. And then you had from the 6 to the 1 that had stabilized at a certain value. And the 7s are the ones that really saw a spike and then really fell. And that's because there's so many in population, there's so many that got listed that there was not enough buyers for these cards. Once the investors and the flippers got their piece, got in there, got their cards, sold them to other speculators, sold them to other flippers. Once that cycled all the way through, well, then you're left with the collectors, and the collectors are always the ones that's going to stabilize the value because they're only going to pay a certain amount for the card. So once they all fell to the collectors, and it started to drop. So that the 7s and the 8s started to crumble and really drop in value, and the 10 is pushing it down from the top, that's when the 9s started to fall. It's like dominoes. The 9s started to fall, and we haven't really seen it with the 9.5s yet, but they could be next. So the 9s almost broke in half, like 50% drop on those. And it's all because these 7s and 8s were, there was like at any given day, there was about 80 listings for the PSA 8. 80. So, every day there's 80. So if like 10 of them sell, there's another 10 that went right back in there. And there's always been about 70 to 80 listings for the PSA 8. So how many collectors are going to be able to afford those cards and just keep buying those? How many guys are in the market for this? It might be crazy to think, but there are collectors out there, even hardcore Michael Jordan collectors that just can't afford these cards. Even like a $300 Michael Jordan card is like tough for these guys. They got families, $300 card is still a major card to some people. So spending $12,000 to $15,000 on a PSA 8, that would be like their grail card. They would have to like liquidize their entire collection. Some people have to liquidize their entire collection just to buy 7 or 8, and that's just the reality. Not everybody is as wealthy or doing okay during the pandemic and all of this stuff. So, but if you notice, when those 7s and 8s started to fall, it took a while before the 6s to fall because those had stabilized, because there's way less population of those cards. And there's way less population of the 9s and the BGS 9.5s. So even though, when the PSA 10 started to fall, like down to the $400,000 range, $450,000 range, it doesn't, the average collectors, us, it doesn't really concern us because we're not buying those cards. We can't afford those cards. We could never afford a PSA 10. But it still has like a major psychological effect, and that psychological effect affects all of the Michael Jordan rookie cards from the top down, because we're still thinking about it like, oh man, if I buy this PSA 8 at $15,000, but look at when you see a PSA 10 drop $300,000, you're like, man, that's a lot of money. What's that gonna do to a PSA 7? So you start to think about that. It's a psychological effect. And I think the reason the BGS 9.5s we haven't seen a big drop in those is no one is selling them. They rarely sell. There's a small population of the BGS 9.5s. There's like about 500 of those in population. There's only 300. Well, there's 315 of the PSA 10s, but those are selling for $500,000. There's 500 of the BGS 9.5s, but they're not even close to selling to $500,000, and it never was. They've always been about 100,000. There's been a couple of huge sales of them, more higher end BGS 9.5s, but there's only been like a couple of those. One for 162,000. That was like the biggest one. That was only happened a couple of times. But majority, if you look at the average is about 90,000 across the low end and high end BGS 9.5s. They were never $500,000 or 700,000. So when the PSA 10 dropped, it didn't really affect the 9.5s, because the 9.5s were considered undervalued compared to those PSA 10s. But these celebrities and these guys that can afford the PSA 10s were not interested in the BGS 95s. So that price never got driven up. And it's kind of expensive for, some of these guys that are out there hustling, that are flipping these cards, to purchase a $90,000 BGS 95, to purchase several of them and try to flip them. It's just not, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, they can't do that. They might be able to get one of these and then try to get their profit before something happens with the market, because they don't keep these cards very long. So if they buy a BGS 95, that ties up like $100,000 of their money. Well, these guys are hustling. They're out there going to shows. They're hustling. They're trying to flip. They're not holding these cards long, and they're trying to get their profits. So a 95 is not really desirable for them, and it wouldn't be a card that they might hold on to. I think the BGS 95 is more the collector. The BGS 95 is more like the Michael Jordan collector card. It's something that maybe he could afford if he had enough equity, and then if he buys it, he keeps it, and it's off the market. And the guys that want to sell the BGS 95s list them so high on eBay because they feel slighted because the PSA 10 is so high. So they list their BGS 95s at a price they think it should be. So those don't sell. So then only thing you had is like little trickles of like one sell here, one sell there in a golden auction. And then those sell for like around 90,000, always selling around 90,000, with the major collectors that can afford the PSA 10s not interested in the 95s, and the average collector not being really able to afford the 95. So the people that are buying these 95s are just really wealthy collectors, and they're putting it away in their collections. So the 95 rarely ever sells. You have 5-6 listings on eBay for a ridiculous price. I mean, it's what they feel that it should be, but it's just not there yet. Because the BGS 95 is not getting the respect right now. That could change in the future, and I think it could change in the future, but it might, I don't know when in the future. But everyone is on the PSA. PSA is king right now. And to people, these new millionaires getting into the hobby, PSA 10 to 10 that's what they want, a 10, perfect 10. And then the 9, the PSA 9 has become like the card for those flippers, those guys out there hustling. The PSA 9 is like the top card that they would try to get. And plus it's PSA, they know PSA is king. PSA is easy, it's liquid, it's easy to move. And they know exactly the value because the 9 sells often because there's a pop over 2,000. So they know exactly how much it to sell for, how much profit they can get, how fast they can turn that over. So they're going to hold it for a little while and they're going to get their profit and they're going to get out. With the 9.5, it's a little tricky. You got the subs, you got the high ends and low ends, so it's not as clear to these guys. So they're not really trying to flip these 9.5s. So that's why these 9.5s have stabilized, and they've always been around 80 to 100,000, with the high ends being every now and then a high end will 125, 150, 162 when a card was really hot. The PSA 10 was really hot. We had one sell for 162, which made sense because that one had a 10 sub on it. So if you have a BGS 9.5 with a 10 center or a 10 surface, what are we talking about here? It's the same level of a premium card as a PSA 10. It's just in a different holder. And to some people that makes sense. So that's how you're going to get these spikes once in a while. But when the whole market is cooled, when it cools off, people abandon it. And they say, oh yeah, and it ends up selling closer to the low end BGS 9.5. The gap closes. But when the card is hot, you're going to see these crazy spikes. But getting back to the PSA 10, so if you heard about a $700,000 card that has sold, that was big news. That was big news. Before the last couple of years, that was huge. So what cards sold for $700,000? So the only thing close to that in the Michael Jordan market was a PMG green. There's 10 of those. There's actually 9 because one got ripped in half, allegedly. So there's only 9 of these PMG greens. That is like the holy grail Michael Jordan card. If one of those sold, it made Huge news. And then we celebrated it. The PMG Reds saw a boost. The base cards of the metals, they will see a hype. And then we don't see the card again. We don't hear about it. We don't see it. It might be 1, 2, 3 years before one even surfaces. The only ones that we'll see is maybe like Nat Turner's collection or something, his Flickr account. We might see it on like Google Images, but we'll never see this card. It'll be out of sight, out of mind, and we'll just remember like this crazy sell of this PMG green. But with the PSA 10 Michael Jordan rookie card, it's like, wow, there's 2 of these sold for $700,000. That's crazy. So we still have the same feeling as we did with the PMG green. We're like, wow, that's crazy, $700,000. That's almost $1 million. Will it reach $1 million? And then when that hype kind of, or when that celebration kind of fades away for all the Michael Jordan collectors, thinking their cards are just going to boom. Well, then the next auction, there's 2 more listed, and you're like, okay, oh, there's 2 more listed. Whoa, will it sell for $700,000? Oh, that's interesting. Will it go to $1 million? It sells for less. It sells for $600,000. You're like, man, okay, well, that's still pretty good. $600,000, it's still a great run up from the sales prior to the golden auction. They were like $200,000 and $300,000, and then you look and it's like, oh wow, there's 2 more listed. There's another auction. There's 2 more listed. We didn't even have time to get over these last sales that we all celebrated on Instagram and everything, and King Golden talked about, and bam, there's 2 more. There's another auction house that has 1 more. There's another auction house that has 1 more. You see a little. Some of these guys that have the Michael Jordan Fleer PSA 10, they've had it from the beginning. They see that it dropped from 700 to 600, and now it's in the 500, and they're like, oh, okay. Well, let me get my card at PWCC. So then you look on eBay and you see like 2 or 3, 4 listings for these random PSA 10s that pop up. But these are like old time guys that have had this from the beginning or bought it when it was $20,000, and they're like, man, I'm gonna cash this in. So now you look on eBay and you see 4 or 5 listings. So psychologically, now you're thinking, well, they're available here. So then some of these millionaires, they actually do look on eBay once in a while, and they see those 4 there. So now they're thinking about that psychologically when they're bidding on these cards at golden auctions and these other places. Like, well, like if a card goes over a certain amount, I'll just buy this one on eBay, or I'll just wait for the next auction. So the urgency is gone. So there's so many factors at play. So it's not just the economy, it's not just inflation, it's not just the entire card market bubble. It's simple as supply and demand. That's what it is, supply and demand. It's just with these millionaires and these PSA 10s, it's just on a grander scale than us, the average collectors that are buying 7s and 8s. So that's what's happening with this PSA 10. Now, so getting back to what I was saying with these huge sales like the PMG green and other cards. So what did you hear about before the PMG green? Well, not in basketball. You would only hear about this in baseball, the 52 mantle. So the 52 mantle would sell. That was the sales that we heard about in the news. The 52 mantle was selling for $1 million, selling for several $100,000. So let's look at that for a second. So let's look at this PSA 10 Michael Jordan rookie card. Let's look at the population of this card. So look, there's 18,996 in PSA. The PSA 10s, there's 315. So look at the PSA 9s, there's 2,773. And the PSA 8s are 7,842, and the 7s 3,476. So talking about, let's see. Also, let's check Beckett, because Beckett is a factor as well. So we have another 11,630. So we have like 30,000 with the 2 major companies that's been around. We have 30,000 Michael Jordans in population. 30,000. So actually, let's look at that mantle. So let's just look at PSA. Let's look at PSA here. So you might think, well, I see some of these on eBay. I see the 52 mantle. I see it available on eBay. You see, the most common grade is actually the one here. This is the most common grade that you see usually. So there's 286 of the PSA 1. So that's the one you're going to see on eBay. But look at the entire population. There's only 1,414. For as much as you think that, so you're seeing all these PSA 1s and you think, well, maybe the lower grades are more common than you think. But you look at the overall population, there's only 1,414. 10s, there's actually 3. You're never going to see those. The 9s, there's 6. So when a 6 sells, it's huge news. And it's usually a celebrity buying this card, or a millionaire. And the 8s, there's 35. So when these cards sold, these cards here sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. These cards sold for millions of dollars. And then you didn't see them. They might sell once a year in a major auction house. Okay, so you're saying, okay, that's Mantle. That's different. That's 52 Mantle. So let's look at another GOAT that's comparable to Michael Jordan. Let's look at Wayne Gretzky, his O-Pee-Chee, his 79 O-Pee-Chee. So look, there's 6,209 of those in population total. So that's why his prices stabilize more. But look, there's only 2 10s compared to Michael Jordan's 315 10s. So you're saying, okay, but this card is really hard to grade. So okay, we'll look at the 9s. There's 89 9s. So the 9 of this is kind of like the 10 of the Michael Jordan. So there's still only 89 of these. So that's less than a third. Look at the 8s. There's only 743. The bulk of the grades are here, the PSA 6. So that's why Wayne Gretzky, see, you see a Wayne Gretzky 10 sell and then it's gone. It's gone for years. It's put away, it's gone for years. You don't see it. The 9s, you see the 9s sell once in a while, but not very often. Not like the 10. Let's look at the Michael Jordan right now. So there's been 13 sales in the last 3 months, right? 15 if you count the other 2 that Ken Golden sold. And there's no telling how many have sold privately. We don't know. But look right now. Let's look on eBay. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's one for 450,000. That's 4. One just sold yesterday. Look, for 499,000 on the 24th. So that's 5. That's 5. Now look, this is Golden Auctions. There's 3 more. So that's 8. Okay, still going. Mile high cards. So Mile High Auctions. There's one there. So that makes 9, right? Okay, let's go to Leland's. Here's Leland's auction house. Here's one more. So that's 10. That's 10 Michael Jordans that one sold just recently. And so there's 9 others. There's 9 others available right now. So we had 13 sales in the past 3 months, but we have 9 available right now. So are you ever going to see 9 Wayne Gretzky PSA 9 O-Pee-Chees? Are you ever going to see 9 PSA 7 52 Mantle cards available? You're not going to see that. Let's look at someone else, another GOAT from 1986. So we have Jerry Rice here. You have his 1986 tops. Similar population, 21,472. But look at the 10s. There's only 58 10s. So you're not going to see this card very often. And when it sells, it's gone. It's off the market. Look at the 9s. There's still 1,000 9s. Even though this has a higher population total than Michael Jordan, the bulk of it is the 8s at 11,000 and the 7s at almost 6,000. But the 9s, there's only 1,000 and there's only 58 of the 10s. So the 10 of the Jerry Rice can stabilize better. Let's look at another one. Let's look at the Derek Jeter 1993 SP card. Similar population, 17,420. But look, the PSA 10, there's only 21. So when that sells, it's huge. And then it disappears. We don't see it for another year, maybe 2 years. Look at the 9. There's only 609 of the 9s. The bulk of the grades are here at 8,960. And look, the 7s, 5,262. So if we look at the Michael Jordan, you might think, well, man, this is an old card. Why? So is it just easy to grade? No. What I think is going on, I think a lot of the Fleer product was unopened. There's a big percentage of the Fleer product that was unopened. They produced a lot of this. And I think a lot of people opened these in the last decade and they got them graded. And another thing is, Michael Jordan rookie card has always been a valuable card. In 1990, when I had my first Michael Jordan card, Fleer rookie card, it was worth $300 in the price guides. It was $300 raw. $300 in 1990 was huge. There was probably less than a handful of cards, of basketball cards that were that price. There was just the Michael Jordan in 1990. There was just that Michael Jordan Fleer rookie card. There was his 84 star, which was actually more expensive. And then you might have like Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That was it. So a card that was $300 back in 1990 was huge during the wax era. Then the junk wax era. The card was taken care of right off the bat. These cards were scooped up and they were put in top loaders. They were taken care of. They were in these huge like bricks, screw down bricks. They were taken care of. So that's why a lot of them maintain the 8s and some the 9s. Some people put them away immediately and you got the 9s and the 8s but a majority of this product had been opened in the last 10 to 20 years and graded. That's why we have so many 10s and so many 9s. So that's why we have the situation right here with the 86 Fleer Michael Jordan card. So let's recap. So this is what I believe is going on with the PSA 10. You got these guys coming in, these millionaires, or these very wealthy collectors, these celebrities, hip hop artists, athletes. Got these guys coming in, $700,000 sale, really brought to the forefront, to the attention of these guys, these wealthy guys. They jumped into it. There was 4 that sold that night for $700,000. There's 4 off the market. Created a lot of hype. More and more of these guys started getting in here and started getting into these major auction houses, buying these cards. And each time they sell, that's less and less people that are in the market for it. And the card is going down from the top. The PSA 10 is going down from the top. Less and less people that can afford it, that are trying to get it. You got the 7 and the 8s, which are the foundation. The 7 and the 8s are strong. The whole market is strong up to the 10. So they stabilize all. They stabilize the 9s. They stabilize the 6s to the 1s. The 7s and the 8s, they're too many. The population is too high. Everyone is listing these cards. Everyone is trying to sell these cards. A lot of the collectors cannot afford them, so they're stale. They sit there. A lot of them sit there at these high prices. So what happens? People have to lower their prices. They have to lower their prices until the collectors can afford them, or they get to a point where the collectors want to buy them, where they feel like where they feel the value actually is. Remember, the collectors are the backbone. They stabilize. So even though these investor flippers, these guys hustling, some of them bought, they bought a nice little supply of these 7s and 8s. Eventually, they're going to have to lower their prices so these collectors can buy them. Collectors want them. So you got that, the 7s and 8s and the 10s squeezing from the top. 7s and 8s foundation crumbling, drops the whole market. Now, let's get to the good news. It's not all bad news. Let's get to the good news. Getting back to the wealthy collectors buying the PSA 10s. What I do know is when these guys buy this card, it's off the market. Justin Timberlake, he's putting it away in his collection. He's not going to flip it. You're not going to see that same card a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later, him trying to flip the card. He loves Michael Jordan. He wanted it. He got it. It's off the market. A lot of these guys, these wealthy collectors, are buying this card and they're keeping it because they like it. They loved Michael Jordan. They loved it. It's off the market. So now we have at least 15 Michael Jordan PSA 10s that are completely off the market. That's what we need. So we're seeing a turnover. We're seeing a turnover from the guys that could afford, the guys that had this card a long time. The collectors that bought this card early or had this card always were the original owners. And the guys that bought it for, for $10,000 to $20,000. We're seeing a major turnover. Those guys sending it to auction houses, it's getting turned over to these wealthy collectors who are keeping them. So don't think that these guys are flipping. And not only that, the guys that are buying these cards are probably a little afraid right now to even try to flip it because it just keeps dropping. So they're not going to sell. Someone that bought it at $700,000 is not going to sell it right now for $400,000. They're not going to do that. These guys are smart. They have financial advisors. They're like, you're not selling this card right now. It will spike again. It spikes every year. Might not spike to 700,000, but it's going to spike. Could spike. Could spike to 700,000. I don't know. But I can guarantee you, if you see one of my other videos about will it spike again, go back and watch that, and I talk about that. So, so you got that. This is the good news. So more and more are disappearing, going into personal collections. You're not going to see them. That's what we need to happen. We need all 315 of these cards to sell to wealthy collectors, and they disappear out of sight. We don't need to see them. That helps the market. Same with the BGS 95s. You wealthy collectors that have always been here, not a millionaire wealthy, but just guys that are been here a long time. They have a lot of equity. You need to buy these BGS 95s, put them in your personal collection, and we don't see them again. Okay. And then secondarily, the 7s and the 8s. Well, okay, the average guy can now start to afford these cards. And that's what we need. We need these true collectors to buy up these 8s and 7s because there's too many of them. They need to buy these up and put them in their own personal collections. And that be their centerpiece or their grail of their little Michael Jordan collection that they have. We need these to start to disappear to these personal collectors to get them off of eBay. There's just 80, 90, 100 listings of these cards, and we do not need that. That's bad. That is bad for the market. So that's a good thing. They get more affordable. These collectors buy them. They buy them all up as much as they can, as many collectors as there are to buy these. I mean, there is a lot of supply, but if we get enough Michael Jordan true collectors and the new ones coming in to buy these cards up and put them in their personal collections, then that is definitely a positive for the market, because we need less of those listings and we need less of the PSA 10s popping up every month. That helps. We should only see like one PSA 10 a month. That would be very healthy, not 10 or 9 that are available right now. That is not healthy. You're not going to see that with the 52 Mantle. You're not going to see that with the Gretzky. You're not going to see that with the PSA 10 Jeter. You're not going to see that with the Rice. You're not going to see that with these high-end Trouts. These high-end LeBrons. They have serial numbers. The Tiger Woods, they're to 99 or to 100 for their Grail cards. So you're not going to see a lot of those anyway, because there's just not a lot of them. And they sell, and they're out of mind, out of sight. You don't see them. We celebrate it, and they're gone. And we just wish that we could have it, and we think about it. But Michael Jordan PSA 10 is just too many of them. So buy them up, put them in your personal collection so we can stop seeing so many of them flooding the market. All right, guys, that's basically, I've kind of beat a dead horse here. These are all my opinions. Tell me what you think about it. Comment below whether you liked it, you hated it. So if you hate it, I also want to hear that. Just don't check a thumbs down. I want to hear why you dislike my opinion or my point of view. But that's it. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you like it, please give it a like. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. I'm thick-skinned. I can take it. Just give me a reason why. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. And all right, Michael Jordan collectors and investors, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next Michael Jordan Market Report.